It's a new day, a new dawn, a new year, and a new game. That's right, welcome to the Genting Highland Resorts for Esl One Genting 2017. The crowd are in the house in the Arena of Stars, and we have some stars here for you to enjoy over the next 3 days of Dota 2 action, the first esports tournament of 2017. We can't wait to get into it. They say esports never sleeps. They're definitely not wrong when 2017 is concerned. We've also got some stars at the desk, of course, to help guide you through all of the expert analysis that is required, and we've got Malk as well. Let's introduce you to all three. I was going to start early, but I was going to give you your own introductions as well. Alongside me is a man who, let's just say he's done some stuff with 7.0. You know, just like a 9-hour video. We say thank you, Purge.
No problem.
Thanks, Purge.
Thanks, Purge. And alongside him is a man who has won not one, but 2 Caster of the Year awards this year. Well done. He's also got a haircut that doesn't match any heroes in game for the first time this year. Well done.
He's also won 2 games out of the 150 he's played on 7.
We don't talk about defeats here.
I mean, at least
Jacob.
I played 150 games.
We also have a man who has joined us as well. This man is a bit of a legend in Dota 2. Player, obviously, in the past. Then decided to move on and become a manager in League of Legends. And failed. And has now moved on and become a manager in Counter-Strike Global Offensive with a team called North. Over the next 3 days, he'll be focusing on the fact that he doesn't want his Dota 2 career to go south. He is, of course, Malk.
Thanks, Paul. That was the best one yet.
Is it?
I think so.
Yeah. How are you all doing anyway? Jokes aside, everyone excited?
Yeah, excited for the new patch.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait to get this underway. We'll talk about that in just a moment as well. First, I just want to wrap up last year, 2016. It was an incredible year. Record-breaking year for Dota 2 yet again. Fantastic events all the way through, and it ends with Boston, which, again, fantastic results. Adfin, probably the story of the tournament as well. And then OG win another major. Just so many cool things happening. But it's all changed, Cap.
We've hit the hard reset button.
Thrown it all up in the air and it's all going to land on the floor again.
Yeah, I think this is 7.0 is definitely an opportunity. I've seen so many people, and I'm sure Purge has too, like you're the big guy that newbies look to, right? And I've seen so many people who are like, oh, I'm actually going to try out Dota because of 7.0, because it's such a big difference. I feel like, I can get my feet on the ground where other people already had a step above me, right? But now it's like the great evener.
Great leveler.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
7.0
is
even Jacob can play now.
Oh, continue. Everyone is bad now. That's how I feel like. But it's also weird to me that everyone keeps losing their games. Like, who's winning? I see Austin's profile, all his games
2
are
out of
lost.
500.
Whoever I talk to, all their games are lost. Who's
Kevin's
actually winning?
Yeah, I'll tell you who's
Kevin's winning.
Hero spammers.
I've won a lot of unranked games. Does that count?
That counts. No, it counts right now anyway.
Okay.
Let's talk about 7.00 and 7.01, obviously, we've got in play now. Kevin, let's start with talent trees. Massive change for the game.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a stolen idea, but it's something I really like. It gives you a lot more variety in what you can build and lots of different ways that you can play different heroes. So ways that you can adjust in-game. So once you're committed to a Crystal Maiden pick, if you really want a DPS, you can. And I really like that addition to the game. It allows more itemization differences, more players to play a stronger version of their role if they happen to have a great game. So maybe those really big playmaking 4 positions, could see a lot more impact from them.
Yeah, you can do Lich carry. You can do
You probably could.
Chaos Knight support.
Speaking of which, I lost to a Sanctum Yasha Desolator Lich.
Purge agreed with me then as well. I'm going to take that.
He just ran me over.
Really?
There was nothing I could do. It was like built-in Skadi with all the AWP effects. It's so fast to the new Lich.
Yeah, it's amazing what kind of things you can do in the 3K bracket.
Yeah.
But not everything is enjoyable. Obviously, with change comes, worry, and people look at the game and they kind of, I don't like this anymore. Why can't I have this back? And you've got a bit of a beef with Shrines, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, I like what Shrines do for like the offlane. I think the Shrines were the idea to be able to even out the really stupid idea, the very unintuitive idea that suiciding new neutrals was a good thing, right? Like that was like the previous patch, that's what everyone did. It was like, oh, I'm about half health, half mana. Yeah, it's about time to reset and just go to suiciding neutrals, right? So I think Shrines were a way to be able to kind of offset, that idea to be able to keep supports constantly ready to go, keep heroes always in lane, always bringing this action. But there is the idea that this also closes. I think that the map is very small now because of the shrines and their positioning. If you look at them, the outer shrines are actually closer to the other side of the map than even the tier 1 towers. And I think in many ways this does it takes away some of the big strategical depth that was in previous patches. I think we are going to see a lot of 5-man run-at-you strategies and a lot of action, which is going to be a lot of fun to cast and a lot of fun to play, but I think it does make things, strategically speaking, a little bit simpler.
For the base defense, though, with the shrines in the base, and I disagree with adding them into the base, and also, unsurprisingly, I keep forgetting to use them, so I'm dying in my
Or
base.
accidentally click on them, too.
Yeah, all that.
Yeah.
But I feel like that adds to the whole defending the base, and I think it makes it slightly too easy the first 30 minutes.
Okay.
It
What
really
do
gives you so
you
much.
like? What do you like? What have you enjoyed about the new patch?
Level 25 talent tree, I think, is very interesting. I like the battle hunger from Axe. Unsurprisingly, it's a hero I play a lot.
What a shock.
Yeah.
Why? Because he's big and burly, and that's something you always dreamed to be but couldn't be?
Oh, we're just off to such a good start this morning. No, but I just there's a lot of interesting ways of building the hero, like Kevin said earlier, and the whole getting 1400 extra damage from battle hunger, for instance, is something I like a lot.
Yeah.
That's
I know.
just like the one hero I've been playing, obviously.
Overall, how would you summarize, Kevin? And you haven't got 9 hours this time.
Can I have 9 minutes? Is that too much?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean,
9 seconds.
it's
Go.
it's fun to hop into a game and not know what people are doing. Like you don't see
Wow.
the same builds.
Really? You're enjoying that part of it?
No, it's just like you can hop into a game. They could have the same items. It's interesting to see the difference between different players. Some players might value one talent, some might value a different. So I find myself spectating games, and I just click on heroes throughout the game, and I just enjoy getting that new depth of knowledge that hasn't really been discovered and figured out yet. And that's what we're going to see this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. Cap, that is the biggest issue, isn't it? What is the meta? No one really knows. Every team's going
Not
to
even
be
the pro teams
theory
know.
crafting what they can do and how this can work. And they'll be like, aha, we found something that we think works and we think we can win this entire tournament based on a couple of theories that we. But every team is thinking that.
I think this is going to be the tournament that is going to be decided by theory crafting more than any other tournament before. Like every other tournament when there was a new patch, first of all, there wasn't a patch that changed the game inherently as much as this one in Dota 2. And I think the other thing is that we also had this period of time. It came out right after Boston. And right after Boston is where most of these teams are looking to go on holiday and that sort of thing, right? So these teams haven't actually really put these ideas that they have in their heads truly to the test, right? So every single one of these teams is going to have a different idea about Dota. They have different theory crafting, and they're going to pull all of these ideas into these games, and we're just going to see this madness of what actually works and what doesn't stand up to the test.
Okay, we're going to get more from all three of you in just a moment. But first of all, let's give you some information about the tournament itself and how it shapes out. We're going to start today with our group stages. Group A and B will both be played today in terms of the opening matches. Both of those are best of ones. We'll also see the winners' games in both of those groups, best of 3. Tomorrow we'll move on to the elimination matches and the decider games, which will eliminate 4 teams in total. That leaves 4 for the semi-finals on Finals Day Sunday and, of course, our grand final. Plenty of money up for grabs, of course, here, as you will have come to expect from ESL One. This one's no different. $250,000 up for grabs, with $125,000 to just the winners. So there you have it. That's how the tournament shapes up. But first of all, we're going to get into our 2 groups, and first up is Group A. It's a very interesting group indeed, filled with promise and expectation on many players, and also a bit of a wild card from the home team. This is Group A.
Virtus Pro had high expectations at Boston, but finished out of the top 4. One of the tournament favorites, VP, will be disappointed with anything less than a finals run. Fnatic will try to return to their glory days with 3 new players and home crowd advantage. Expectations will be high with both Malaysian superstars Mushi and Yamate on the roster. Newbie was one of China's great hopes at the major, but finished in bottom 8. They will aim to bounce back and restore some national pride. Team NP has steadily improved throughout the fall season. They placed top 8 at the Boston Major and will aim to win their first major international title.
A very interesting group indeed, with 4 fantastic teams. Plenty of heritage in there and plenty of home support, of course, for one team in particular. We'll start with that team, Kevin, Fnatic. It's a little bit of an unknown because of the way that they've had changes coming up so close to this event. How do you
I think they have a pretty good shot. I mean, they still have their same core, which is Mushi as well as Ohio. They added Febi, a fantastic 4 position. We're just a little unsure about Yamato on support. We'll see how he does. They say he's just a stand-in. And then obviously their mid player. Is he going to perform at the highest level, despite being a great pub player? That doesn't always translate to pro scene.
Yeah, we've seen that a few times. Home crowd support is surely going to play a part, Cap.
Yeah,
Gonna get
possibly.
behind
I
their
mean,
players, aren't
then
they?
again, it also puts pressure on you, especially considering the fact that they do have a newer player in your dream, right? That might be a pressure that he is not accustomed to. And again, maybe the transition from going from pub into pro may be actually a little bit extra stress there because he's got the home crowd and so many people cheering for him. And
Yeah.
That being said, we do have Sumail, Miracle, Anna, Weeha.
Yeah.
There's a
Plenty of
long track
examples.
record of, well, Western mostly, but a long track record of players that actually on the middle lane come through and be these superstars. And that's exactly what Fnatic needs right now.
Yep. In terms of the way that this group is mixed up, we've got MP in there with the Italian Envy. He's got plenty of fans here as well. Newbie obviously want to bounce back very quickly from their Boston disaster. And then you've got Virtus Pro, probably the best team in Dota 2 towards the end of the last patch. So it's a great group, but how do you pick a winner?
I mean, considering the playstyle and what we expect from 7.0, I think Virtus Pro is the favorite of the group, just because of how I feel like it caters to their playstyle exactly, and because of how strong they've looked the past 2-3 months going into the major. And so I'd be surprised if they didn't perform at the highest level. I think they could end out most of these games in 20 minutes.
Okay, so I just want to make a quick apology to Virtus Pro fans right now. Apologies for the fact that Malk has made your team the favourite for this group. Obviously the curse.
That's not a curse.
Is it not?
No.
I thought it was.
I'm pretty sure you had a
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
real bad track record.
Yeah.
No,
Awful.
not even close.
Terrible.
Frankfurt Major, I was the highest rated analyst.
In
Never got to go to a major again.
Hold on. In what parallel world were you the best analyst in Frankfurt?
Statistically, that world, you know, numbers,
Right,
stats.
really?
At Frankfurt this summer, I predicted Navi would do pretty well, and they did pretty well.
Pretty well.
Wow.
I think
Didn't
you
you
had
predict
as
them
the
to win the
favourites.
finals
He
too?
did.
Well, that was
He
just
did.
because.
Do you remember that finals,
proud to say-
Jacob?
I'm also going to say that Yamete is the best player here, just because I want to please the crowd.
Oh,
Right.
Jesus.
Okay.
It was
Well,
working.
crowd pleaser. Everyone loves Jacob now, that's for sure. We're going to take a look at Group B next up, of course. It is another fantastic field team of fantastic field teams, of course, in this group. Two in particular stand out, of course, because they were in the TI6 Grand Final. This is Group B.
Digital Chaos placed top 4 at the Boston Major, but have yet to fully recapture the magic that led to their stunning TI6 run. Execration have their visas and their invite to ESL One, but most importantly, after narrowly missing 2 straight big events, they have the hunger to prove they belong among the top teams in the world. Warriors Gaming qualified through the Malaysian qualifier, and they look to build on their top 8 major finish in a rematch of the Boston group stages against Wings. Wings may have lost their aura of invincibility at Boston, but the team still remains one of the most skilled and dangerous in Dota. At Genting, the new chaotic patch may be perfect for their fun, creative style.
Yeah, it's a very good point made in the video, Cap. You've spoken about it a number of times backstage, of course. This patch in particular could suit how Wings play.
Yeah, I think that I think part of the problem is that the previous patch was very even in that there were so many heroes that could have potentially been picked up that I think that was a big advantage that Wings had in the draft, that they were able to pull from certain heroes that maybe people weren't thinking about that were actually perfectly viable, and it came as a surprise to teams and it ended up winning them drafts most often. But this patch, whenever you have a patch that changes this much, there's no way you're going to have nearly anywhere close to the same amount of balance, which I think then closes off the hero pool. And I think that may be a detriment to Wings. I think that the natural aggression playstyle is going to be good for them, but I think from a drafting perspective, they may have a little bit harder time.
Okay, Jacob, I want to pick up on DC. Probably got the loudest roar from the crowd. I found that a little bit surprising.
Yeah,
but
in a
nevertheless-
group of 3 Asian teams and
Indeed,
DC, that
yeah,
is
and they got
sort
the
of
loudest crowd. But in all seriousness for this team, they've come a long way in a very short period of time. Ever since TI, they kind of rocketed into people's mind of, okay, these guys can potentially win big tournaments now. We understand that.
I mean,
before that, we didn't know that.
Well, from the pro perspective, like if you asked any elite level player, they'd all say that DC had a lot of potential. They had some of the.
But they've never delivered on it. Is
Yeah,
that
definitely. But it's, you know, a player like Saxa, for instance, didn't really get to shine until he got on a team like that. Misery suddenly stepping up after he won the Shanghai Major. Everyone knew he was capable. Now he's a captain. He's doing superbly well. He's one of, if not the most experienced player in the world right now, alongside Puppy.
Yeah, it's a great point. Experience. I was going to raise that with you. Rasmus is that experienced player. He's been to every TI, every major. That's going to be really important over the next couple of days as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with the new patch, things are changing. There's got to be a lot of creativity coming fast. You've got to take what other teams are doing well as well. So having a really good coach, I'm sure, is going to also make a big difference.
Other teams in this particular group, Execration?
So what I find interesting about this group, or rather this tournament, and that it's so fresh, it's a new start, is that there's these two dark horse teams in the group, right? We have Execration and we have Warrior Gaming. And both of these teams can upset because of how the tournament stage is done. It's best of one. And if you have if you're a one-trick pony, or if you have some kind of cheese up your sleeve, you can upset any of these teams in the tournament.
And I think it's most often the time when patches are determined, there's usually a region that is somewhat right about their ideas of how the patch works, and other regions will then push towards that. But with a completely new patch like this, it's actually a toss-up. We have no idea what region is going to be able to figure out the patch the fastest, and it very could be Southeast Asia.
Yeah, it's very interesting indeed. We're going to head to a break very shortly, but I do want to get your thoughts and get your predictions. Then we're not going to put you on the spot so much and give graphics and monitor it and do all the because it's so up in the air, right? But is there one team or maybe a set of teams, Kevin, that stands out for you where we might see the winner come from?
Yeah, I think so. I think everybody would assume Virtus Pro is most likely going to win Group A. I think Newbie could definitely be another team that outperforms there. There's some talk yesterday that NP, very, very good at theory crafting. That could give them a big advantage to find something that's OP, abuse it at the right time, get a set ahead of somebody else that may be slightly better in other cases. And out of Group B, I would say maybe Digital Chaos and Wings possibly, but we could definitely see Execration or Warriors Gaming come through. Warriors Gaming had a great performance at Boston. Same thing could happen here.
Kat, agree?
I'm going to put, if I'm going to actually lead, we did our whole rehearsal and I was leading towards VP, but I just was thinking about it, and I think the offlane position has become more important with the changes in 7.0. So my favorites are going to be the teams that, the top teams that have the best offlaners, and I think Newbie, Digital Chaos, and Wings definitely stand out in that regard. And I think the dark horse for me would actually be Team NP, because they also have a very strong offlaner, and this is a theory crafting patch. This is a theory crafting period of time, and if I think of theory crafting and teams in the past, Cloud9 was one of the only teams who had really good, interesting ideas that were very unique and executed them within actual matches. I've heard multiple teams say, oh, we have this really cool strategy that involves X and Y, right? And you never actually see it in an official. Cloud9 was always a team that was willing to do something like that, and I think in a tournament like this, that is a big advantage.
Okay, just a quick mention for Cloud9 as well. Congrats on your Dota team. It's good to have you back in Dota 2. Jacob? Well, predictions?
Sort of sucks being the last one, but I'm going to side with both of the guys regarding
But that's so boring.
NP. No, but so theory crafting, it all comes back to that, right? This is the first tournament of the year. They have AUI, they have Envy. In the Western world, probably both known as the biggest theory crafters of all time. And so I think that can really benefit them. Then you have MSS on the offlane. I think Tidehunter is one of his best heroes and one of the best offlane picks right now. So I can very well see NP go far. I'm still going to stick with Virtus Pro as the number one in that group.
Okay.
And I'm going to go with DC and the other group, just because I think they can play everything.
All right. Do you think the winner actually of the whole tournament comes from one of those two teams, or is it a wider pool?
VP or DC?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Bold. I like it. It's good. A good start to the day. We are headed towards a break right now, but when we come back, of course, we do have our first match of the day. Are you ready for Virtus Pro versus Fnatic? You better be.
Esl One Genting is brought to you in part by Xbox and Windows 10, Lenovo, Logitech G, NVIDIA, Digi, MSI, and Mineski Event Team.
Okay, here we go then. Welcome back to the Genting Highlands. We are 5,500 feet up in the sky, above the crowd, above the clouds even, while the crowd get ready in the Arena of Stars. We are headed into our first match of the day. We're going to break it down on the desk for you. First up, it is Virtus Pro versus Fnatic. And we'll start off by talking about Virtus Pro with our expert desk and expert panel here at the NVIDIA desk. Kevin, we spoke a little bit in the preview, obviously, of the show about their brilliance and the fact that they're such a great team. But that is really the core of this, isn't it? There's not one player that kind of stands out, makes all the moves. It is a really good team.
Yeah, you could talk to any person on the street and they would pick a different member of VP. And there's different times where one of them will have an amazing game and others will just do okay, and then somebody else will pick up the slack. And you've seen MVPs from every single one of the roles. Both supports are fantastic. Every single one of their cores. They can do just about anything.
Yeah, if they have a disappointment though, Cap, it's obviously what happened in Boston. They went into that as red-hot favourites from many people's perspectives and failed. No bones about it, they failed. They didn't achieve what they should have achieved at that. How does that affect them now? Or is this just such a completely different patch, new game, new year? Did they just shrug that off?
I mean, if you look at the history of Dota, the favorites of tournaments have oftentimes been upset, and that's just because Dota is such a strategical game that when everybody looks towards one team as being the best, then you're going to copy and you're going to start figuring out how to counter what they do, right? And I think in some ways this may be a relief that they are no longer the favorite that they were at Boston, and so maybe they're going to be able to reclaim some of that older magic that we saw towards the end of the
It
year.
needs to be said that the last game of theirs in Boston was a very odd draft. Bloodseeker, Sniper, Doombringer. It almost worked for them as well, if it wasn't for Sumail's brilliance, but you know, it was an odd draft. It's entertaining by all means. They picked a Bloodseeker, but still, I think they could have probably beat EG if they'd stuck to their guns.
You think they maybe got a little bit too out of their box?
Maybe they did, but I mean, look at that draft. That's a Theorycraft draft. They're ready for this, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, so one thing we talked about earlier is how no one, for instance, this patch really suits him so very well for the mid lane pool of heroes. Queen of Pain, super good hero. Immortal when it hits 25 with the right item build. Ember Spirit with the change to everything. So good now as well with all the magic damage. It's actually
stupidly
It's
strong.
straight up stupid. It's going to be a patch soon again. And then the Shadow Fiend as well can be played not as often as the other two, but it can still
Much
be
more
played.
often than at the end of the last patch, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So I feel like those three heroes is something that no one has sort of, like, that was his claim to fame, playing that great Shadow Fiend, the great Queen of Pain, and he's picked up the Ember Spirit because the other two weren't in the meta.
Yeah, I think no one's long been looked at, or at least over the last year and a half, is he's been looked at as one of the players coming out of CS who is exceptional at that 1v1 in the mid lane. So all the heroes that Jacob is mentioning, they're extremely good at that, and I think that that aspect may allow no one to... I already thought that he was like, you asked me during the rehearsal, you know, who is your best player from VP, and I said no one, just because I felt like he did not get
Jacob
enough press,
said,
right?
well, what about Ramses?
Yeah,
and then Purge said, well, what
yeah,
about
we all
Passion?
have different ideas,
Exactly,
right?
and that's the perfect team, isn't it?
Yeah, I think no one in that case is going to get even more of a boost in this patch, not just because of the heroes that are available to him, but also because of VP's fighting style and the way he's able to fight so aggressively to be able to create space for Ramses.
Okay, so move on. We're going to talk about our second team in this first game in the group. It is, of course, Fnatic. I think we might have a few Fnatic fans in the house tonight as well. Yeah, we do. Plenty of home support here.
I heard one.
It's a tall order, this one, though, Jacob. You've been through a few team changes before. We've swapped out one or two, maybe three sometimes. It's tough, isn't it, when you first come to a LAN?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the hardest task they can possibly get. It's a new patch, but against one of the teams that would probably be favorites in it, and a team that has been on a hot streak leading up to this tournament. So I think all odds are against Fnatic. That being said, they're coming out from a clear underdog perspective. They can only upset, and I think they can ride that momentum. There's no real expectations to them. There's just a lot of support and hope, especially from the home crowd, but from the world in general. Like, in my dream, he's really, really good. Because if he is, the best tournaments historically have been when Mushi's team is going deep in the tournament. Like TI3, he ran deep. TI5, he ran deep, I think.
Relatively.
And those have been some really, really standout tournaments where he's been a part of that whole storyline because of the team around him in Ohio.
You also have some history with one of the members in this team.
Well, Yamate?
Yeah.
Yeah, we faced off a good amount of times in Dota 1. I think he always succeeded and I failed miserably, so no surprise there.
No
Story
birds.
that set the stage for the rest of your life. I'm
Yeah, I see. I knew there's a burn in there somewhere. Cap delivered. Brilliant. On a serious note, though, Purge, I'm going to try and give them something to hang on to. The fact that it is a new patch and no one has figured it out just yet, and these guys maybe don't have the team chemistry just yet, but is that not a bonus for them heading into this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you guys are underselling them a little bit. I mean, the first match is a best of one. It's against arguably one of the best teams in their group. They could put them into lower bracket of the group stage, win that, maybe win their next best of three. They've got really good talent. Febi's fantastic as well. We barely talked about him, but he's been successful on MVP for like 2 years now. I think they can get stuff done here. And you know, the first week of a team usually referred to as the honeymoon period either way. And
I don't think it's that we're underselling them. It's just they're going up against accomplished teams who have set lineups with two completely fresh players that we have no idea how well will perform on their roles. Yamate has never played support historically, and In Your Dream is just a player we know nothing about.
I do say that I think that if Fnatic is going to be a successful team, if they're going to be a tier 1 strong team, then I think it's going to be off the back of Febby. I think that that guy is the only guy who could actually make this team work from a support position. I think they are going to definitely need a playmaking support that is able to make things happen and create space for Ohio and Mushi. I don't know what In Your Dreams playstyle is like. I don't know if he's super aggressive or he's a little bit more form-oriented, but I can say just for Mushi and Ohio that I think you need a playmaking support to absolutely make sure that the 15-minute mark is not lost.
Yeah. Jacob, those two players that we've just mentioned, Mushi and Ohio, there's a lot of pressure on them here.
There is. I think one thing we talked about earlier as well in the rehearsal that Austin brought up was the fact that Mushi has been consistently good throughout. He had I think his only slight slump when he was playing the fourth position. It wasn't all as successful. They forced a lot of Omni Night games that weren't that good and such stuff. But other than that, historically he's been really, really good. Ohio's fallen off a bit. He was known to be one of these great off-laners, top 3 in the world at one point. And now we haven't seen that same level, especially when they went out of the Boston Major qualifier. So he has a lot to prove for himself, because we know the level is there. He just haven't lived up to it.
I think back in the day, Ohio was innovating things in the offlane. I watched him and I was just, he was my favorite offlaner at that point in time. So for me personally, it's been rather disappointing watching him fall from those ranks. I think that he's nowhere near the top 3 position that I would have placed him back.
Do you feel that he's not necessarily fallen off in a direct cliff, but he's had moments of heat where he's got better again, or maybe that particular patch has suited him and he's had good periods, so it's been a bit up and down, or do you feel like it literally has been falling off again?
I don't think I see the same moments of brilliance that I felt. Maybe that's just because everyone else has gotten a lot better, and even if Ohio has gotten better as a player, right, everyone else has, maybe exceeded that. But I think in the world of offlaners, right, I look at heroes, I look at players like Faith Beyond. I look at, like for this tournament, I think Moonman is a great offlaner, right? Really aggressive. We talked about MSS earlier. It's an offlaner that we've seen in the past who has managed to make so many things happen. And with this offlane patch, I think there's going to be a lot more opportunities to shine. We have all these opportunities. I think Ohio, we've seen what he can do in the past, but I haven't seen any real glimmers of that since the last 2 or 3 years.
Could be his patch, though.
I mean, it could be. There's a lot of stuff that could be happening. It could just be that the last couple teams he was on didn't really favor his playstyle. Well, the one thing that I always felt he was amazing at was perfect initiations, like knowing exactly when is the right moment to punish and initiate, drop a stun on somebody, and have your team follow up. And there hasn't been, offlane hasn't been that straightforward in a long time, maybe like 2 years, where the offlaner's clear mixture is blink in, stun people, and the fight starts. It's a lot more dynamic than that now.
Okay, we are ready to introduce you to our 2 teams. So ladies and gentlemen, let's head over to the main stage with Eri.
Malaysia, make some noise. Are you ready for Esl One Genting? Let them hear you, come on. Here we go, we're about to get started. Welcome to Resorts World Genting at the Arena of Stars. You guys kicking off an amazing tournament, starting up. Are you guys excited? How do you guys like patch 7? How do you guys like it? You like it? Yeah? Yeah, I know about the HUD. Relax, sit down, sir. We're fine. You're good? You're hype? Ready? We'll find the shop, don't worry. Meepo, in the house, excited to do this. Oh, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a treat for you for our first match today. Are you guys feeling the hype? Are you ready to do this biggest tournament in the history of Malaysia? Ladies and gentlemen, let's do this. Our first team for your first match here for ESL One Genting. We have Virtus Pro! Malaysia, let's get the energy up in here. Come on. I want to hear you guys make some noise. Come on. There you go. Because we got their opponents. We have Malaysia. We have Fnatic.
There we go then. Both teams on the stage about to head to their desks to get ready for game number 1 of Esl One Genting 2017. I think the biggest trouble they're finding right now is where the seats are, Jacob.
I love watching Virtus Pro go on stage. Lil is the one person I've ever met with more self-confidence than me. He is so full of himself, and I love it. It's great.
Have you seen his Instagram? Sure. It's filled with selfies and half-naked pictures, man.
Half-naked?
Yeah.
Oh, Jacob's
I thought you would have been all over that.
Jacob's signing up already. We're going to move into the draft very shortly, which gives Kevin the perfect platform. Not 9 hours, Kevin, okay? Just please,
Right.
bring it back in for us. But this is going to be fascinating.
Yeah, it really is. Hopefully it doesn't get too... I'm scared with the best of ones that teams will be like pulling into their safe zone, whatever worked best for them in their scrims. But that's what we're going to see. Yeah. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. Maybe Slardar is the only hero that I expect to get picked. Everything else, no idea.
I suppose someone actually said to me yesterday, are we going to see cheesy picks? And I was like, actually, it's all cheese right now.
Kind of, yeah.
Because you just don't know anymore whatever comes out.
There hasn't been enough time for people to figure out item builds. I mean, even if an OP hero comes into a patch, people don't figure out what's really strong about them. It's usually, a certain item build with a certain playstyle is what makes a hero strong. But we haven't even had time to compare item builds to skill trees and how that allows to change things. So there actually needs to be more pub time for them to figure out what actually is cheesy.
Plenty of fun being had between the players right now. We should also mention that there are 4 heroes not in or not available. Jacob, do you want to have a stab?
Monkey King?
Wow, what a shock.
Your turn, Oz.
Necrophos.
Techies. And
Paul?
What have we had?
Monkey King, Necrophos, Techies, and...
You got this one.
Ow! Lycan.
Instead of like 8 times.
Lycan. Yeah, no, I brought that up yesterday when we were arguing about it. Yeah. So we have 4 that aren't in there, unfortunately. I kind of, sort of sad, but not sad, because I've played a couple of pubs where I got battered by some of these heroes. Great pub heroes, right?
Monkey King especially.
Necrophos, strong.
Yeah.
Actually, it's Techies too, though.
Yeah.
Techies is
I
surprisingly
haven't
strong.
played that many games.
I played that hero recently. I've never laughed harder playing
Really?
Dota solo. Oh my god, it was actually so much fun. I'm going to start playing that hero in ranked, actually.
Which one?
That hero is so much fun. Techies?
Techies, yeah.
It was like, it reckoned me back to my old days of playing Techies and back in Dota 1. I never played it in Dota 2 because it felt so cancerous, but Dota 1, I remember like, picking up Blink Dagger and just like blink suiciding on some guy, and he was just, he would like come to lane again, and I would just blink suicide on him again, and just make his life, miserable. That was so much fun for me back then, and now, it's kind of like that.
So my prediction would be that the most contested hero or banned hero would be Ember Spirit. I just feel like that hero is absolutely ridiculous right now.
Interestingly, I'm going to go with Spirit Breaker.
What?
I am not as optimistic about Kevin as
You're not optimistic about Kevin?
as
I'm not
well-rounded
optimistic about Kevin,
and how many
Kevin's
opportunities
definitely
there are
not
for these very
well-rounded.
heroes. I am much more pessimistic, and I'm going to be like, there's going to be a lot of Quaps and Ember Spirits, Lunas and Shadow Demons. There's maybe some SFs. I think here and there. I think the Axe is actually pretty decent. The occasional don't bring up that meme, Paul. Come on. That's a bad meme. I think there are going to be. What are some of the big supports that have been picked a lot?
Well, you mentioned the
Rubik's
Shadow
pretty
Demon.
valuable.
With this particular team, Lil on the Visits is something we can see. It was luckily nerfed in 7.0. Otherwise, we might as well have just called it a day and given VP the trophy. I think on the offlane is where we're going to see the most versatility. But I do think, and this is just based off my pub experience, I do think Tidehunter is a really, really strong hero right now. It fits the timing of the meta really well. He can farm up pretty well without, when he's zoned from the lane, he can still just take out the neutrals and everything like he's always been able to. and he just dictates the early 5-man aggression.
The reason Jacob keeps going back to Tidehunter is that it was actually in 100% of his pub games. 2 for 2.
Really? I'm astonished that he's even managed to win 2 games. Kevin?
Oh, I didn't win either.
He didn't win,
Oh, you didn't
but
win.
they were in
Oh,
the game.
I thought you meant 2 for 2.
No, absolutely not.
Right, gotcha. Okay, Kevin, I'm really interested in your theory crafting, because you love this. You
I do.
put together
My
these
favorite.
kind of, how the hell does it fit together? What works together? What is your initial gut feeling that we're going to see?
I mean, I think Cap has a decent point. There could be a lot of comfort picks, things that people played a lot in the pubs, play things that you're expecting other people to draft. But it all depends on how confident they are. Like, for example, Fnatic is the underdog in this match. They may go something a little bit more YOLO, whereas VP may stick to the standard stuff, some typical draft that's maybe a little reminiscent of the previous patch, and all they've really done is adapted to the new map and slightly to talent trees. I think the teams that are ahead are going to go a little bit more standard, and the other teams may try to pull something out that they think is genuinely good, and it may just completely fall flat.
Okay, top 3 picks, do you think?
I heard Knoxville say Slardar was the highest win rate of the patch so far, but there haven't been a lot of games, only some. And a lot of ways he's the better fish than Tide because he does allow you to initiate multiple times in a fight, and you don't have to worry about something like a Ravage cooldown. And he normally has a lot of trouble offlaning because he needs a dual offlane, but now he's got a Shrine, so even if he does have a bit of a bad start, hit the Shrine right away, it'll be refreshed in like 6 minutes or whatever it is, and then back to lane.
Yeah, that's one of the keys you mentioned earlier on about the Shrine, is that it does change which heroes are strong in specific lanes, specifically the offlane.
Yeah, I think the offlane definitely got a big boost because of the fact that you always have that fallback. You also have a bounty rune to be able to rely on. There is still some potential to do some things with Iron Talon if they keep a really defensive tri-lane. You really just can't get in there. I think there are a lot of opportunities for the offlane to be the most interesting to look at. Also the 4 position. I think the 4 position and your early roaming impact is also going to be pretty important. Heroes like Pudge, I think that was the other support that I felt like was so strong in pubs, just because Rot with its movement speed slow, like it was good in the last patch, but I think it's potentially even better now, thanks in part to his talent trees. So,
if we look at the carry position, Austin brought up the whole Shadow Demon Moonrider thing. No news there. Luna is super good, always has been. Another hero that's always been super good, Slark. I think Slark is probably the best he's ever been. Sadly, because I hate the hero with a passion.
Pretty much everyone else does too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm actually
Cap is
not
a
as
secret.
optimistic
He's
about
a secret
Slark.
Slark lover.
No,
There's a lot of magic
I'm
resistance
definitely not. I don't know. I kind of disagree. At least in my experience and the couple of people I've talked to, it seems like Slark isn't as strong as maybe he was in the past. It's like I think you need either a hero that's going to be able to push better, or you need a hero that's going to be able to fight better. Right, so I think you need like Juggernaut or Gyrocopter if you want to be fighting more, and I think you need like a Luna, even potentially Terrorblade, Drow Ranger, like those kind of heroes. I think you still, because of the shrines, I think you want to be able to take control of the game early, like super early, and because of all the 5-manning, I think Slork has a hard time being able to find the openings of the pickoffs.
So you're focusing on lane pushing and team fighting and...
Yeah, I think it's all about 5-manning and being able to push down towers. I think those are like the 2 biggest elements.
And you can't even kill Shrines anymore until you have all the tier 2s dead. So
Yeah.
Slark's gank advantage that he normally has is even harder because people can support TP to Shrines, usually before the 30-minute mark, even if one team's really dominating. So there's a lot of things not really going his way. More gold perks as well, more gold to buy sentries and dust. There's a lot of things going bad towards Invis heroes.
I think it's very difficult for teams to recover from having their shrines taken away. If you've lost all your tier 2s and the shrines are gone, I think you lose so much map control, and the enemy team has so much, because even if you've taken some of their tier 1s and even a couple of tier 2s, those shrines are still there. They're still so aggressively pushed forward, right, that they have so much map control because of that, and you just have so little because you've lost yours that it's like night and day, right? You just, every single time you go outside your base, you have to be able to prepare for some sort of 5-man team fight, and if you win that, congrats, you get farming time now. You get to be able to spread around the map, do some farm efficient things, maybe even take an objective. But if you don't, then you're just like, boom, you're back inside your base again. They're pushing high ground.
Is that not when the aggressive teams can pay dividends? Because I've seen a few games online. Admittedly, some of it was a slideshow, but I could tell what they were doing. And actually, one of the interesting things was when they lost the tier 2s and the shrines, that team then went, okay, it's all out now. We have to just kill their tier 2s, otherwise we've lost the game. It's almost like a different position that they were in. They've suddenly thought, we've now got to go aggressive, even though they've been backing off.
Yeah,
they were then taking risks to get rid of the shrines. So there's an extra element of that, because like you say, if they lose control, that's it, they're done.
Yeah, it's that animal that gets backed into a corner, right?
Yeah.
Like they see the end. They see like, we have no map control. We don't really have good ways to be able to farm. Like they're
to play really farm efficient, or they're able to get things like Roshan and go high ground and threaten the end of the game. We have to push out into them. We
Which
have to do something.
Is why 701 is going to punish teams that play nervous, that play safe in a way if they're getting pushed back, and never come back out fighting.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think you do need to contest even some of the tier 1 pushes. I think you have to be very specific about the trade-offs that you make. If you're trading away a tower and you're not gaining one for yourself, then you need to really think about what you're gaining for that. Are you getting a key item pickup? Are you getting a key level pickup that is going to allow you to team fight the next tower? Because you only have a minute maybe before the team goes ahead and pushes down another tower, and you're forced to actually make that defense. So
speaking of timing, something we haven't talked about is the one of the changes to the talent trees is a lot of heroes has reduced death timer, or they can opt to have it. Do you think it's worthwhile taking over some of the stats? I see in some of my games, especially the support heroes, they take these reduced death timers and they just get out so very fast again.
There's a lot of good benefits.
Jakiro is one of those.
I mean,
we also said, Kevin, as well, back at TI, that actually, I think Blitz was the one that came up with the idea that it was low cooldown meta. You pick lots of heroes that got low cooldown. This could almost come back around, couldn't it?
In some ways, if you're expecting to die at the start of the fight, it can be really good. But the benefit that I'm seeing is, especially warding time, the best time to wards are usually after team fights, but if you die, you're not going to be up in time. If you're the first to respawn, you can usually push out a wave or two. There should be a wave closer to your tower. That could be extra gold with the supports. With that said, though, in pubs, statistically, they haven't been good perk-wise. The players that are grabbing those reduced cooldown or those reduced death timer perks are actually losing more often than the opposite.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But we'll see what happens in the pro scene.
Feed faster.
I'm hearing that we will be ready for the draft momentarily. One of the things we haven't spoken about, and there are so many things we could speak about in 7.01, is the change of the map and the fact that Roshan has now changed. Have you seen much impact in the games that you've played so far?
I believe the Radiant
is super value.
It's been a lot higher, and it's kind of interesting to say why, but maybe their secret shop's easier to defend, I would say, than the dire one. The dire one has way more ways into it. It's basically that one entrance for the Radiant, with the exception of going through Ancients. That's maybe one of the biggest advantages.
Yeah, I think it's not going to be like the previous patch. Ancient farming was very key. Especially in certain points, in certain strategies, ancient farming was very important. It's not going to be as important, but still defending that part because now instead of ancient farming, right, you have ancients as well as 2 neutrals.
Yep.
Say you look at the Radiant side, right? And so it still becomes an important area to be able to defend. And I think the Radiant side is definitely much harder to be able to get into. And then the dire side advantage was supposed to be Roshan, but now that's a lot more evened out, especially because the offlane has more power. Radiant is going to value their offlane tier 1 tower